to start streaming just so everybody's aware.
I need a haircut.
What, you need a haircut?
Yeah, I need a haircut. Look at it.
Don't you have to have hair to cut it?
I was going to say.
Ouch. Bam,
Sorry.
drop the mic. Ouch.
Call me the jokester.
Are we live yet?
We are. Should be up live. I have the studio going, so.
That was fast, Mr. Heidick.
Good Lord.
I can only picture him walking into his closet full of these jackets and coats. Maybe a disco ball turning around.
Definitely a disco ball.
Well, yeah.
I'm hearing a lot of static from somebody. There you go. That's better.
Mine doesn't have that.
So what did you eat for dinner today?
Nothing.
Justin, what did you eat?
After.
I haven't ate yet.
What? Thomas, what did you eat?
Nice magic sub.
Nice.
Biggest
One
pastrami
person-
sandwich I ever had.
One person I see on here on my screen is Justin, Mr. Magus, Thomas, Carla, Macy's name.
We're looking right now. The only one I don't see.
Hey,
is
I
Mr.
can't. My picture's on here, but I can't get the audio.
I
I
hear
can
you.
hear you, Carol.
I can hear you.
She's on her phone, though.
Yeah, I see it's on, but I don't think anybody can hear me.
I can
hear
hear
you.
you,
Yeah,
Carol.
we hear you.
Hello.
Can
hello,
you?
testing,
Okay, I
testing.
can't hear anybody else. Okay,
We're not
thanks. Bye.
talking. We weren't talking, Carol.
We're just waiting on Shorter.
Yep.
I don't think we're on live yet, are we?
Yeah, we are.
I can't hear anybody.
Can you hear me, Carol?
Everybody loved the artwork from Laura.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Carol, turn your sound up.
You want me to text her to tell her to turn her sound up?
Well, I got an idea.
I'm going to get off and get back in because I can't hear anybody.
No,
No, let her do it. It happened to me last week, and when I logged back in, it worked again.
Okay.
I can't see what that says if you're holding up a note.
That's pretty
Me?
Fine.
Yeah, tell her to text her. Tell her to stop.
Carol, I sent you a text.
Oh, call on the phone?
No, I sent you a text.
Need to learn sign language. To teach you all sign language.
Can you hear us now?
I'm going to say that's a no.
I guess not.
Yeah, tell her to exit the whole app and get back on. That's what worked for me last week.
Okay, I'm going to send her that text now.
Yeah.
Carol's going to get out, Tom, and then get back in and see if that works.
Mr. Medges. Mr. Medges.
Somebody call Shorter. And where is
President Medges. Mr. Medges, are you there?
He's not at his computer.
We're calling Shorter right now.
Okay, Shorter said he's on. He can see, you can see all of us? He can just see yourself. I think you probably, it says waiting for Laura Reese Price.
Mine did that at first too, but I logged out and logged back in. And then
Yeah, log out and log back in because that's what Carol had to do too. Okay, try that and see if that works. Okay, all right, bye.
Hey, Justin, what website are you on so we can see it live?
Facebook or sorry, YouTube.
YouTube?
Right, I can hear you.
On the City of Barberton?
Yeah, it's Barberton Council.
Very council.
It's up there. Should add technical difficulties to the screen.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
All right, get going.
Okay, everybody ready?
Yeah.
All righty. Okay, today is January 11th. This is the Barberton City Council. We will now go into our committee meetings. And first up is City Properties, Parks, and Recreation with Mr. Heidi.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is Monday, January 11th, 2021, 6:12 p.m. All members of the committee are remote. The rest of the body is remote, plus guests noted. We have no requests for legislation and miscellaneous discussion. Director Patterson did start full-time today. I was informed down at the Parks Department. Other than that, is there anything from the committee?
I'm on the call too, also.
Oh,
This is Don Patterson. I'm in the meeting.
I'm sorry?
Welcome aboard, Mr. Patterson.
He's on it as just a call, not video.
Yeah, I couldn't get the link to my email, so I dialed in.
Well, welcome aboard, Director.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to working with you all and making us to have the best Parks and Recreation Department in Ohio.
That's what I like to hear. When I finally meet you, I'd like to see some purple on you. I just want to say.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get some of that. I've got a bunch of green and red and black.
That doesn't work here.
Except on Buckeyes.
Well.
yeah, we'll take red.
Just for today.
For today's good, yeah.
Is there anything else from the body or from anybody else?
Yes, from the
Mr.
body,
Cooper?
sir. Anything
Mr.
new yet
Gamer?
with any more information on the skate parks from any of the park planning department or line director, Mr. Trevor Hunt?
Mr. Hunt was on here.
Yeah, can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
So yeah, there was a meeting today with the Barberton Community Foundation, and I shared with them the interest. So the part of it is actually owned by Barberton Community Foundation. So there's going to be a little bit of work that needs to occur with them before anything gets done with that property. So it's something that we're looking into. It's going to probably take some time.
There's a lot of echo in. I can barely hear you. You said you had a meeting today?
If I could ask anybody except Mr. Hunt to mute their microphones, please.
Can everyone hear me okay?
Go ahead, Mr. Hunt.
Sure. So yes, there's a meeting with the Barberton Community Foundation today where we brought up the issue of Decker Park. The sale of the land would need board approval. So this might take a little bit of time and a little bit of work, but it's something that we have in the queue, something that we're working on.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
Mr. Hunt.
Mr. Hunt, is Decker Park, is it all owned by the foundation or is it also city?
It's mostly the city, and there's a small segment that is owned by the Barberton Community Foundation. It's on the same parcel as the old armory where Stark State is.
Okay, and so the spot next to the dog park, almost 50 feet to the right of it, is that the foundation? That's city.
Yeah, we could meet you out in the field and do a walkthrough of kind of figure out the lay of the land. It's tough to know for sure without going out there. It's more over by the baseball diamond that's owned by the community foundation.
Okay. Yeah, I'll send you an email personally. Maybe we can meet up. Maybe go and walk on the other side. I think it'd be a better area personally. But you're the plan director, so we'll go with what you think.
Yeah, I'd be happy to meet anyone out there. So.
All right. I'll send you an email. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Thank you. Councilor Frey?
Thank you, Mr. Heidick. I had a question for Trevor. How much of the property down there is owned by the schools? Because the administration building is in the old Decker building, and I would imagine that they own some of that property down there. Am I wrong, or?
No, you're correct. There's 3 parcels down there, really, and the Barberton Community Foundation owns the Armory and then a small sliver of Decker Park. The city owns most of Decker Park, and then where the old school administration building is, that's owned by the school district.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. Anything else from anyone? Hearing none, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Hey, Thomas.
Yes, Mr.
Sorry,
Bevick.
I had a thought about what Mr. Hunt just said. So where the old administration building is owned by, isn't that across the street from Decker? That the school's own?
The school's own the old Decker School. The administration is there.
Right, I know, but I thought that Mr. Hunt said that the old administration building, and that's across the street, so that wouldn't affect any property.
No.
For Decker.
I don't think he meant to say old on that, but Mr. Hunt can clear that.
The administration building, yes, not the old administration building.
Sure. Okay. Thank you for clarification.
Well, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion to adjourn, sir.
Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, and we are adjourned at 6:18.
Thank you very much. Next up is Public Safety and Welfare with Mrs. DeBevick.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to bring to order the Public Welfare and Safety Committee meeting. It's Monday, January 11th, 2021, and it is 6:18, and we are meeting remote via GoToMeeting. All members of the committee are present, as well as all other council members, and I have noted who I can see and who has
Mrs. DeBevick.
Yes.
I've been in attendance since about 10 till 6. It's Doherty, sorry.
Okay, thank you. You just don't have a name on there, so I just wanted to make sure I accounted for everybody. Okay. We have no requests for legislation this evening. Does anyone have any miscellaneous discussion? Yes, Mr. Heidick.
Thank you, Chair. Director Doherty, did you say you were there?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I sent you an email, and I hate to bother you because I got an audio reply that said you were on vacation, but I had a question, was asked about the traffic light on Robinson and 4th over by Elementary East, if that was able to go blinking during off hours. I told the citizen I don't know if there was a traffic study due to traffic in the school there, but whenever you get back, if you could send me information, I would appreciate that.
Yeah, yes, I can do that. No problem. I don't have an answer for you right now. I did see the email. I will forward it to the proper department and get back with you when I get an answer.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Yeah, Councilman Heidick, I'll take a look into that as well.
Thank you, Mr. Tracy.
Does anyone else have any miscellaneous discussion for safety? Mrs. Doherty, do you have anything else for us?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Thank you. Hearing nothing, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion made by Mr. Greer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Griffin. We are adjourned at 6:21.
Thank you very much. Next up is Rules, Marketing, and Development with Mr. Griffin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rules of Marketing and Development. I would like to call this meeting to order today, January 11th. We are meeting virtual. All members present and all others noted. tonight we have no requests for legislation. With that, do we have any remarks or any discussions?
I have none.
Okay, if there's none from the committee or the body, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
I will
Mr. Knight. Thank you, Mr. Jaber. We are adjourned at, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We're adjourned at 6:21. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Next up is City Utilities with Mrs. Coburn.
Thank you, Mr. President. City Utilities, it is January 11th, 2021. All members are present and others as noted. We have no current legislation, but we do have a request for legislation from we have a request for legislation authorizing the Director of Public Services to advertise for goods and services used in ordinary and daily operations of the municipal departments in the city of Barberton for 2021. This is also going to be referred to streets, sidewalks, and lighting committees for their approval. And this has been requested to have emergency legislation to ensure continued operations and timeliness. Do I have any discussion on that?
Chair?
Yes. Just
could Mr. Tracy provide like examples of what these bids and services include?
Mr. Tracy?
Yes, I can elaborate on it a little bit. So these are for items or materials that are used regularly in regular operations of the city. So a lot of this could be aggregates like 304 limestone, number 9s, number 8s, concrete, sand, hot mix asphalt, cold mix asphalt, concrete. Could be chemicals at the water plant or the wastewater plant. Also includes could be hauling, like sludge hauling, gas and fuel supplies for distribution and collection, as far as, could be hydrants, valves, pipe, manhole lids and covers, all that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Tracy, for that answer.
You're welcome.
Sir, any other questions? Is there any other miscellaneous discussion for utilities? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn? Oh, wait a minute. Do I need to call for this for next week?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. I think you
Well,
have
it's not on our agenda.
It's not for us to vote on, so.
Okay. All right.
We'll
have copies of that next week, Greg.
Well, I sent it in on time, so that's something that we're going to have to work through. But it was in on
So we
Thursday.
call for this?
Technically, it was in on Thursday, so I mean it's not late.
Wouldn't you call for this now? That way, at the committee of the whole next week, you would.
Well,
it would be
right.
It's referred to sidewalks.
Oh, so yeah, what you could do is probably have them call it out of streets and sidewalks.
You're just reading it now and referring it to sidewalks, and I would call for it next week.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Greer. So do I have a motion to adjourn from utilities?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have Carol Fry made a motion to adjourn and Carla DeBevick seconded. We are adjourned at 6:26.
Okay, thank you. Last but not least is Finance and Personnel with Mrs. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is Monday, January 11th. The time is 6:26, and we are starting the meeting for Finance and Personnel. We are online at a GoToMeeting site. All members of the committee are present. as well as all council persons and guests as noted. We have no requests for legislations this evening. We do have one appointment that we're going to vote on, and it is for the Board of Zoning Appeals. It is Richard Waltz for a 3-year appointment beginning January 1st, 2021, and going to December 31st, 2023. That's already been, we already got that out of committee, didn't we?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, because there's motions on the bottom. The only other thing that we have for finance for tonight is that we have all received the budget report for the month of December. And if Mr. Flaker is available to take us through that, I would appreciate it. Are you here, Jeremy?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Can you do that? Can you do the report?
Yep. All
Okay,
right.
thank you.
Starting with the health insurance fund, one thing I want to point out, it was a typo. The month of November is listed. Name of the month of November is listed twice. That second one should be December. Starting with the revenues for that fund, there was $425,000 in revenues, expenditures $369,000. It left the unexpended fund balance just over $1 million. The net year to date in that fund was $352,000. Moving on to the income tax fund. The estimate for the month of December was $868,000. The actual came in at just over $1 million at $1,009,000. For year to date comparison, if you look for 2020, we were over our estimate overall by about $279,000. But if you look at the actuals for 2020 and compare it to the actuals of 2019, you will notice that our income tax did go down about $1.5 million. I have that broken out, which I'll go over here in a second. The transfers for the month of December was $503,750 to the general fund. That fulfilled all, and $5,000 to the one of the parks funds. Let me see here. What parks fund was it? It would have been the sports operating complex fund that was in the adjustment ordinance that you guys passed at the very last council meeting in December. So when I was comparing 2019 to 2020, withholdings are down by about $900,000 from last year. Business tax was down about $150,000. Individual tax was down about $100,000. Penalties and interest was down due to CCA. Well, with the tax deadline being delayed, I also, due to CCA, kind of shut down there and people having a hard time getting in touch with CCA. I was helping the people out this year just for the main fact of all the chaos that ensued due to the pandemic. Another thing that was down was the line that says other state and JEDs in the year-to-date income tax detail. That was down about $100,000 compared to last year. That mostly is due to the JED agreement between the city of Barberton and the city of Norton. So as you can see, some of these numbers are down due to COVID. Part of it's down because Kmart's not in the city anymore. B&W leaving accounts for most of that withholding, if not all of that withholding, actually. So moving on to the statement of cash receipts and disbursements, we have a few funds in the negative. The first one's the FEMA fund. That is in the negative due to encumbrances. Once we expend the money for the 14th Street flood mitigation plan and we get reimbursed by FEMA, it will net out to zero. So that will be fine. The next fund is CDBG, which is the HUD grant. So Once again, another federal grant program that requires us to expend the money to be reimbursed for the money. The final fund in the negative is the Norton Sanitary Sewer Construction Fund, Fund 517. That's in the negative due to encumbrances outstanding. That is the fund that we're using for those the sewer projects that we have going on in the city of Norton that we're either going to be reimbursed by OWDA or OPWC from the loans from that which will be then reimbursed by the city of Norton. Looking at the last 3 months of activity, you will notice the general fund unencumbered balance went down from November to December by about $500,000. That's due to the transfer being smaller than the previous month. Previous month we were transferring $1 million. We only transferred $500,000 because that's all we were allowed due to the original budget passed by council in March. Looking at the special revenue funds, the special revenues went up by about $200,000, and that goes hand in hand with us not transferring as much to general fund. We didn't have to transfer as much from income tax, so that's why that's up by $200,000. Enterprise funds are down about $200,000, and if you look, it's just from the monthly disbursements exceeding the monthly receipts. All other funds is up by about $800,000 from last month. It's up due to the chargeback for healthcare for the month of December. We charged that back to all the departments, and then we also closed the PO that was out there for Summit County for our healthcare for 2020. Since we expended all the 2020 expenses, there was still about $200,000 to $300,000 left on that PO. We closed that PO, and that helped up that unencumbered cash balance for the special revenue fund. And then when I compare December 19 to December 2020, you'll notice the general fund is up by about $5 million. Looking over that, $3.6 million is attributed to the CARES Act. You then have about another $1 million that the city received in BWC dividends on the 3 dividends they issued. One, it was in March, one in November, and one in December that we received. Those attributed to about $1 million. And then there were just some departments that came in under budget. Looking at some of the statistics, and that there were a few departments that came in $50,000. Some departments under $100,000. Another one under $100,000, and another one that came in would have been about $500,000 under budget. So overall, most of the departments operated under budget, and some of them were somewhat significantly under budget. And that has a lot to do with COVID, not as many programs going on in the city, unfortunately, due to the pandemic going on. Looking at the special revenue funds, you will notice the special revenue funds, the unencumbered cash balance, is roughly the same as it was last year. Enterprise funds, you will notice the unencumbered cash balance is down by about $1.2 million. But I want to point out, if you look at the cash balances for the enterprise funds, it's about the same at the same time last year. The difference between the unencumbered cash balances, if you look, the encumbrances outstanding is about almost $1.2 million higher than last year. All other funds, if you look at that, the all other funds, it went up by about $200,000. So if you look overall, the unencumbered cash balance from last year, December 2019 to December 2020, increased by about $4 million. And a lot has to deal with CARES Act funding and that BWC dividend. That is all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Flaker. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Flaker? Mrs. DeBevick.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Flaker, you mentioned that it was down $100,000 in the JED because of the JED. Is that just because we haven't collected? Will we be collecting that, or what is the reason that is down $100,000?
There was an agreement between the city of Barberton and the city of Norton on in the JED district for a business that wasn't being included. We finally got it included. Part of the agreement was they had to pay the city $100,000 for 2 years to make up for the revenue that the city lost. So the end of that was 2019 was the final year of that. So 2020 was the first year of not having that extra 100,000. Well, I wouldn't say extra, but the repayment of that money.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Do I have a motion to call for the budget for 2020? Approval of the budget.
I make a motion that we call for the finance report.
And I will second that. And I will second that.
Thank you, Nina. All in favor of going forward with the budget? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes. Okay. Are there any other questions for finance or personnel? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Medges? Mr. Medges made a first. You'll second it, Carla?
Yes.
Okay, and we are adjourned at 6:38 p.m.
Thank you very much. Does anybody need any time, or should we go right into this meeting?
Mr. Medges?
Yes.
So I want to know the rules that I have to invoke and suspend. 7:02 to suspend for starting early.
Okay. Let's see. Invoke 7:02 to suspend 103.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Okay, we'll just go right into our meeting. Okay, this is a regular legislative meeting of the Barberton City Council. Today is Monday, January 11th, 2021. And it is 6:39. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation by me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the
United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one
nation,
nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And
Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity of bringing us together to face the issues and concerns of our city. Grant us the guidance to unite and share the wisdom we need to become the best community we can be, and to promote more bipartisan cooperation for a healthier system in our community and our country. Please safeguard our brave men and women who protect us at home and abroad. We ask that you work through us and strengthen our hearts and minds in making positive decisions as they come before us. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, clerk, please call the roll.
Mrs. Angela.
Here.
Mrs. Coburn.
here,
Mrs. DeBebe.
Here.
Mrs. Fry.
Here.
Mr. Greer.
Present.
Mr. Griffin.
Here.
Mr. Heidick.
Here.
Mr. Jaber.
Here.
Okay, since we are starting early, Council Rule 103 states, excuse me, the regular and committee meetings of the whole meeting should be at 7:30 p.m. We are starting earlier than this, so we need to invoke Council Rule 702. Do I have a motion?
Thank you, Mr.
Mrs.
President.
DeBev.
I would like to make a motion to invoke Council Rule 702 to suspend Council Rule 103.
Thank you. And Mr. Heidick.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will second the motion to invoke 702 to suspend 103.
Thank you. Motion was made by Mrs. DeBevick and second by Mr. Heidick to invoke Council Rule 702 to suspend Council Rule 103. Are there any remarks? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Okay, approval of the minutes of the regular legislative meeting. Mrs. Heidick.
Mrs. DeBevick, you mean?
What?
I mean, Mrs. DeBevick. Sorry about that.
Oh, look
You
out,
don't know,
Tom.
your hair's not long enough.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the approval of the minutes of the regular legislative meeting held on Monday, December 14th, 2020, as presented.
Was that the 21st?
No, 14th.
14th.
14.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Heidick.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will second the motion to approve the minutes of the regular legislative meeting on Monday, December 14th, 2020, as presented.
Thank you. It was moved by Mrs. DeBevick and second by Mr. Heidick to approve the minutes of the regular legislative meeting held on Monday, December 14th, 2020, as presented. Are there any remarks? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Minutes are adopted. Okay, acceptance of the Finance Department report for the month of December 2020 as presented. Mrs.
No.
I don't know, my notes are all messed up here. We got a new clerk here.
We have the regular legislative minutes from the 21st and the executive minutes.
Okay, I see how she got it. Okay. I need approval of the minutes of the regular legislative meeting. Mrs. DeBevick, this is for the 21st.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the approval of the minutes of the regular legislative meeting held on Monday, December 21st, 2020, as presented.
Thank you,
Now,
and
wait a
Mr.
minute.
Heidi.
Thank you,
And
Mr.
she
President.
wasn't there at that meeting. Mrs. DeBevick wasn't present at that meeting. She wasn't there for that.
Okay. So, Mr. Heidi, can you make a motion for that? No, wait a minute.
I was going to say, I usually approve it. I mean, I haven't missed in a year, but I have approved it before.
Yeah.
Okay, it's all right. It's okay. You can approve that, Mrs. DeBevick.
I thought so. Thank you.
Mr. Heidi?
Thank you, Mr. President. I will second that motion to approve the minutes of the regular legislative meeting on Monday, December 21st, 2020.
Thank you. It was moved by Mrs. DeBevick and second by Mr. Heidi to approve the minutes of the regular legislative meeting held on Monday, December 21st, 2020, as presented. Are there any remarks? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The minutes are adopted. Okay, acceptance of the finance report from the month of December 2020 as presented. Mrs. Fry.
We still have the minutes from the executive meeting on Saturday, December the 12th.
I thought we already did that last
No.
Okay, hang on a minute. Okay, I need a motion to accept the minutes of the executive session held on, what was the date on that?
December 12th.
Well,
12th.
December 12th. Okay. See, Mrs. DeBevick, you weren't there, right?
Yes, I was there.
Okay, you were there. I need a motion from Mrs. DeBevick.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to make a motion for the approval of the minutes of the executive meeting held on Saturday, December 12th, 2020, as presented.
Thank you. And Mr. Hyde.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will second the approval of the minutes of the executive meeting from Saturday, December 12th, 2020.
Thank you. It was moved by Mrs. DeBevick and second by Mr. Hyde to approve the minutes of the executive session held on December 12th as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, minutes are accepted.
I think that's the right one.
Okay. All right. The minutes are adopted then. Okay, financial report. Acceptance of the finance department report for the month of December 2020 as presented.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the acceptance of the finance department report for the month of December 2020 as presented.
Thank you. And Mrs. DeBevick.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will second the acceptance of the finance department report for the month of December 2020 as presented.
Okay, thank you. It was moved by Mrs. Fry and second by Mrs. DeBevick to accept the finance department report for the month of December 2020 as presented. Are there any remarks? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Minutes are adopted. Okay. Petitions and claims. Petitions and claims. Okay. Okay, there are none. Matters requested. They've been passed out?
They've all been sent through email.
Okay. And citizens addressing council. I have one letter. Okay. This is January 11th, 2021. A letter to the mayor and Barberton Council. You recently passed an amendment to the landlord registration ordinance. I cannot believe that you can say that the landlords and tenants had a fair chance to express their objections to this. The fees can amount to as much as 500% increase to some, not the $4 to $5 that one of the council members claimed. Some council members have told me personally that changes will be made. 10 years ago, landlords heard the same rhetoric. How are we to believe now? Why couldn't council have had some dialogue with landlords and tenants prior to voting on this amendment? Maybe you could have drafted an ordinance with support from them rather than resulting in an opposition and animosity. The proposal is to add to more inspectors and the clerk. Back in the 70s, the department was operated with 2 inspectors and a clerk at the time when Barberton was doing a lot of new construction. That is not occurring now. Most cities are trying to cut costs, not increase them, as Barberton is doing. Does that make any sense at all? Why not use the funds to encourage landlords to improve their properties? After all, this was the stated purpose when the fees were originally passed. Respectfully submitted by Charles Fowler Properties. Okay, first reading of ordinances and resolutions.
Ordinance 01-2021. Zoning map amendment, Austin Drive. An ordinance authorizing the rezoning of parcel 01.13686, 4.04 acre parcel on Austin Drive from C3 Community Center Commercial to RA16 Single Family Attached.
Okay, since this is a zoning, it will go 3 readings. So that is the end of the first readings. Second readings of ordinances and resolutions. There are none. Third readings of ordinances and resolutions. There are none. Okay, appointments. Okay, the Board of Zoning Appeals, Richard Walsh for a 3-year term, January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2023. Do I have a motion for that?
I will make a motion. I move for the appointment of Richard Waltz to a 3-year term beginning January 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2023.
Thank you. And are there any remarks? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
No.
How many noes we got? We got Mrs. DeBevick, Mr. Greer, and Mr. Heidick. So that is 5-3. So it passes.
Where do you get 5-3?
I think you need to count that again.
What's that?
You need to count it again.
That's 4-4.
Okay, I don't have everybody's face on my laptop. Let's vote that again. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Why don't you just go one by one? Go by name, be easier for you. It'd be easier for you.
All right. Okay, Mr. Greer?
No.
Okay. Hold on a minute. Mrs. Angeloff?
Yes.
Okay. Mrs. Coburn?
Yes.
Mrs. Fry?
Yes.
Mrs. DeBevick?
No.
Okay, 4. Mr. Jaber?
No.
Mrs. Coburn? I already asked her. Okay. I'm trying to do this in my head. I have no names up here. Okay, Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Okay, and Mr. Heidick?
No.
Okay. We got 4-4. I believe I can vote on this. And I am going to vote yes. So we've got 5-4 then. Last time we voted on him, it was brought up that he did not have email or anything. Well, I was told by the mayor that he does have email and he's set up for this. Is that correct, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, that's correct. That was on his application, his email address, but at the time his computer was on the fritz.
Okay, is he set up now?
Yes.
Okay, I thought so. All right, then he's on. He passed.
Mr. Medges,
Yeah?
did we have a second for that? Do we need a second for that?
I don't think we have a second.
Do we? I don't.
I don't think we had a second, Mr.
No, we
President.
didn't. We didn't.
I will make the motion. I will second that motion to appoint Mr. Walsh to a 3-year term on the Barberton Zoning Appeals Board.
Okay. All right. A motion was made by Mrs. Fry and second by Mrs. Angeloff to appoint Richard Waltz for a 3-year term on January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2023. Okay. And should we vote again? You guys want to vote again or are we good?
We're good.
All right.
I think you should vote again, just make it clarify it since you're going to do the second reading.
After a second.
Yeah. Just a quick question also. Is this his application? Did he ever do the right application? Did he do the wrong application the first time? Did he ever do the right application the second time?
Yes.
The application had whiteout on it. I don't know if it was a new one.
The application that was submitted, he sits on another board as well. And he filled out the application for that board. I had asked council several times if they wanted an updated one for BZA. and no one had requested that. So.
Mr. Medges?
Yeah.
With all due respect, I would say that we didn't request one because it was already turned down.
What was that? I didn't hear that.
With all due respect, I believe that we didn't ask for a new application because it was already turned down.
But I had asked council if they wanted a updated application prior to the first vote, after the first vote, and then prior to this one, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hang on, give me 1 second. I got to make some corrections here. Mrs. Angela, who's second in your committee?
I am.
Mrs. DeBevick?
Finance, I'm second. Oh,
No,
not
this
me.
is
Okay, no, you're for the next one. Okay.
Mrs. Angela, who's second in planning? Mrs. Fry?
Mrs. Colburn.
Coburn?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Another appointment is the Design Review Board, Joyce Barron. It's a 3-year term, January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2023. Do I have a motion for this?
Mr.
Mrs.
President,
Angela. Yeah?
I'd like to make a motion. I would like to make a motion to appoint Joyce Barron to the Design Review Board for a 3-year term, starting January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2023.
Okay. Do I have a second, Mrs. Coburn?
I'll second that motion to appoint Joyce Barron.
Thank you. Motion was made by Mrs. Angeloff and second by Mrs. Coburn to appoint Mrs. Barron to a Design Review Board for a 3-year term effective January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2023. Are there any remarks? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? She is appointed. Okay. Miscellaneous and unfinished business. Does anybody have anything? Anything from the good to the bad? Mr. Mayor, do you have anything for us?
Yes, a few updates. As it pertains to and different businesses that are following mandates and things of that nature. Since we have a Huntington Bank in town, Huntington did mention that they're reopening up all their branch lobbies, especially the one here in Barberton. I know we have a lot of people who make use of Huntington here in town. In terms of the cases statewide, the numbers continue to rise, and they're kind of all over the place each day. But we have experienced more than 50,000 new cases in 8 out of the past 9 weeks each week in the state of Ohio. The belief is that this is going to continue to rise, and we could see a huge surge based on the holidays, and this is based off of what they saw after Halloween and Thanksgiving. So with New Year's and Christmas not too far off, they're expecting a surge. The good thing is with the state of Ohio, no counties are in the highest level, which is purple. 84 counties, including Summit County, are at the level 3, the red level, and 4 counties are at the orange level. No one is at the yellow level, which is the lowest. So we all know that testing kits have kind of become a commodity. There's a shortage of testing kits. There's a shortage of lab capacity to test the kits. So this is not just around here, but it's a national thing. And there's also that we're starting to see this with the rollout of the vaccine. So Operation Warp Speed has been anything but that. And so there's a few task force nationwide that have been looking into this. I've been appointed to a task force for Summit County to look at this for our county. There is a press release, a press conference coming up this Wednesday from the executive, Eileen Shapiro. But, want to clarify that the governor dictates the priority list of who gets the vaccine. The health departments by law have to follow that priority list, but the health departments are in charge of, helping with the communication, the distribution, and the managing and oversight of that vaccine. So the 19th is the first, or the next date for the first phase. The press conference on Wednesday will be surrounding the rollout of 1B. But this is an issue nationwide, the rollout and having enough vaccines. So we're continuing to work with our counterparts at the state level and the federal level to ensure that there's enough vaccine for everyone here in Summit County. So. Got the budget from Mr. Flaker late last week, and having budget meetings this week and the rest of the month. And so we want to get something to council as soon as possible so we can start budget hearings. Other than that, continuing to work on development, working with businesses and doing some BR&Es, but also continuing with our infrastructure and working with the state with flood mitigation. Also working with the Mayor's Association of Summit, Stark, and Portage County, and also the Northeast Ohio Mayor's Association when it comes to asking the state government to not only in terms of COVID of providing some help and assistance, but also some funding assistance down the road as well. So we've got our plate full. There's a lot going on. So if you have any questions, feel free to stop in. I know last week, one day last week, almost every council member stopped in within minutes of each other. But we're going to move forward on all of these. As it pertains to the rental registration, I did meet with two landlords. Mr. Fowler was one of them. And with his letter, and I totally understand and respect his opinion and viewpoints, but the difference is back in the time frame that he was talking, there weren't as many rental units as there is today. So about 35% of our housing is rental units. So to be able to carry out everything that we have to do in our rental registration legislation, which was passed in 2009, it takes manpower. And so we want to make sure that we can do everything that's in the legislation, everything we're supposed to do. And so I don't think we're being unreasonable with the legislation that was passed, especially when you start looking at other communities. They did bring up the city of Akron, which has a lower registration fee, but Akron assesses all the property owners for basically everything. They also have higher fines, and their sewer bills are higher too. So nothing is apples to apples when you look at a lot of comparing of a lot of things with cities, but that was one that had come up. So if you have any questions on that, please give me a call or an email or stop in. Continuing to work on the neighborhood redevelopment plan, and I will get that to you guys as soon as possible. I told Mr. Fowler and the other landlords that I met with that if they wanted to submit ideas, suggestions, that we're open to those things. We're not here to tip the scales in any way, shape, or form, but we're here to improve the community. So if they want to talk about rebate programs or ways to build up the neighborhood, that's what we're here for. So that's all I have, President Medges.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Heidig.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I may, Mr. Mayor, when you met with the two landlords, did you reiterate what you had communicated to the council, that the rebate programs available through the rental registration are available only to the people that paid into it, while other programs are through different funds, and there's no intermingling of the two?
Yeah, I explained that to them. I don't know if I didn't do any research to see if they themselves have ever taken part of those rebate programs. But yes, you're absolutely right. We have one program, paint rebate, but two different funds available to two different groups, owner occupied and rental. So I talked to other landlords who didn't want to get kind of in the middle of anything, but they were totally in favor of it. And, the ones who were kind of opposed to it are at the $20 rate. Some of the ones, not all of them, but some of them that were in favor of it are at the $40 rate, soon to be the $100 rate. And they were totally fine with it. They felt that it lifted up the neighborhood, and they didn't feel that it put a strain on their collection or what they charge. So.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Mrs. Angeloff has her hand up.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Also, Mayor and Council, I had talked to Mr. Fowler 4 times on Saturday. And I think he understands where we're coming from. He just wants us to understand where he's coming from. When he has 40 units, it's very costly. He was a little upset with me, and we just said, good night at that phone call, and he felt bad and called back. It is a business as his, and he does understand that. But on the other hand, he has to understand where council comes from. So the 4th telephone call we had was very productive. He understands. He's unhappy with that, but I think he kind of understands. And I talked to several other landlords that had called me, and they were upset that they didn't have an input in that. But they did, and I explained to them, they went 3 readings. You had 6 weeks. You could have made telephone calls, you could have did this, you could have did that. So I think all in all, the shock might be over with, but anybody that wants to give them my name and telephone number, they can call me and I can talk with them. I don't have a problem with that. Thank you.
I also want to point out that I reached out to the landlords and wanted to meet with them. So it wasn't like they called. I wanted to reach out to them and told them if they have any ideas, let's start those discussions and see what we can do.
Mr. Heide?
Thank you, Mr. President. Councilor Angeloff and I have emailed back and forth since then, just different rough ideas kicking around, polishing up things, kicking around. So if anybody has ideas, I encourage them to email Councilor Angeloff. And it was mostly over the concerns and grievances of landlords. And I think that we could get started soon on somehow addressing those. But the starting point is getting with Councilor Angeloff, and like I said, just kick any idea around, and sometimes they stick, sometimes they don't, but that's how we work through things. Thank you.
Thank you. Exactly.
Mr. President?
Yes, go ahead.
Question for the mayor. Mr. Mayor, when are we going to start doing enforcement on the landlords and also the homeowners?
We've been enforcing it, the rules.
Okay. I'm not seeing a big difference in the last few years. It seems like it's getting worse.
Well, as I mentioned a few weeks ago, we're more reactive, complaint driven. And so this program with the proper funding and being able to staff it the right way will be more proactive as each inspector will have their own section of town. So they won't be chasing from one side of town to the next, going after complaints. They're going to be in a zone or an area of town. So it'll be a lot more efficient, a lot more effective as they apply the rules.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Next Monday is January 18th, in observance of Martin Luther King Day. The city building will be closed, and we will not have a council meeting that night, but we will have council the next night on Tuesday, January 19th, 2021. And I'd like to thank Mr. Greer for streaming this on YouTube. And one other thing is we had a couple glitches tonight. Well, we had a changing of the guard, and we'll straighten that out and make sure that doesn't happen again. Okay, and with nothing else, do I have a motion to adjourn? Mrs. DeBevitt.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to make a motion that we adjourn and go Buckeyes.
Mr. Heide.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will second the motion to adjourn, and I did take the Buckeyes tonight.
What's the spot?
Last I saw, 7.
7. All right. Okay, it was moved by Mrs. DeBevick and second by Mr. Heidick that we adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, we are adjourned at 7:11, and go Buckeyes. Thank you, everybody. See you next Monday.